Welcome everyone to Mindfulness with Marcia, and I'll title this session Off to the Clearing, off in our running the race of our clearing project for mindful living. This past week, one rancher who I truly applaud for her vulnerability to share with me explained that her home had basically tripled in size, the square footage, over the last 50 years. They had a basement that she said was sort of a total train wreck. Lots and lots of labeled boxes, and probably boxes that had kind of got mixed with boxes, not as organized as it had once been. Currently, they also have, she estimated, about 10% of their belongings in an off-site storage. They have a shed that is, she said, brimming, totally full, and they cannot get their cars in the garage. So the garage is pretty full of stuff too. And in a lot of agony, and there was some shame, which we kind of went through, because as I'll be sharing, that shame is not in this conversation. She said, my home's been cluttered most of my life. Even before I got married and had kids, I lived in a cluttered home. And I've tried before. I've tried and I've tried and I've tried, and I have not had much success. And so I just want to say, and I said to her, and I want to say to all of you, no matter what your truth was in the past, or even what it is right now, you now believe that you can make this change. We've talked about it now for 2 weeks together. And it is possible. It is possible, my friends, to have a more mindful lifestyle that includes clearing, decluttering, simplifying, however way you want to express that. So she wanted to know, where does she start? And my question would be, where does anybody start? Any one of us. But first, it is kind of a disclaimer before I begin today, which I had mentioned at one time, that there are many decluttering, simplifying systems out there, out in the market, some free, some you pay for. And I'm going to be sharing my experience, as I have with Mindfulness with Marcia, along the way, because it is a reality, and I know it works because it worked for me. I did look at some of those others. For example, there's one popular method out there that proposed that I hold, if it was this mallet, I hold each and every object in my hand, and I have this thoughtful process, whether it's a t-shirt, a knick-knack, or my mallet, to determine the value it has for me and my life and how it fits into my mindful lifestyle. Well, quite honestly, folks, that just wasn't for me, because just the thought of me having to hold even half of all the stuff I've got, or had, I should say, gave me such anxiety. I would never have been able to get through that process. But if you choose a different process than some of the ideas that I share here, hey, that's okay, because it's really all about what works for you. I'm only sharing what worked for me because I know that it worked. It isn't just some theory or somebody's idea out there. And I have always felt there's never, ever, hardly ever, one way of getting anything accomplished. So in these weekly Mindfulness with Marcias, I just want to provide some ideas and be your cheerleader to clear stuff in your life to allow for a more mindful lifestyle. That's the reason why we got this started. So back to my question, where does she start? Where do any of us start? Well, first of all, you need to know that we need to be gentle with ourselves through this whole process. Being gentle was something that I had not known and learned through mindfulness, to be gentle with myself, because I tended to be very critical, and you remember my shoulds. You should. And I knew that if I wanted to get this project done, I wasn't going to be able to should on myself. I was going to need to be gentle, and you need to too, because it doesn't matter how we got there. It doesn't matter There's no shame, there's no judgment. It is what it is, and now we want to make a change. It's not like anything else in our life. If I want to go on a diet and change my nutrition and exercise, I can't shame myself for why I got where I got, although I've been there. You guys have done that, but it leads to nothing but draining your energy. So we're here now, and we're desiring a change to have a more mindful lifestyle with less stuff. So that's where we're starting. And I'm also making the assumption you're not paralyzed anymore at this stage, because you've been at the starting line now, and you know what your win is, and you know some reasons why you want to clear. You're coming to mindfulness with Marsha because you want to have a more mindful lifestyle with less stress, less emotional attachment, whatever the reason is. And you even have thought about, hopefully last week, some short-term goals, like, for example, where to start. But if you're totally still not sure, as my rancher friend was and contacted me, most of the experts out there would say, and I did this too, is to first just cut the obvious clutter, okay? The obvious stuff. Time to lighten the load throughout your house. If you haven't already started, begin sorting through some of your physical belongings that are perhaps just laying around in clear view, the obvious stuff. You'll see that you'll start to sort things in 4 piles or sorts, and it's usually, number one, things you will resale. And if that's your thing, God bless you. I cannot do, and I'm not good at even garage sales. And so to do these Poshmarks or whatever, that's not one of my piles or sorts, but if it's yours, that would be one. The second one, which was a biggie for me, was donate what is reusable. And our thrift stores are right here, and our staff are there to help you if you're going to use it for tax write-off, for example, which I just did, to help decide what the monetary value would be, especially if your stuff is in really good condition. I'll be vulnerable here, and clothing with the tags still on them. I mean, I was so embarrassed. But again, I can't judge. It is what it is. I had tags on some things. So, I left the tags on because that was good for the thrift operation to know where to go and how to resell it. So that's number 2. Number 3, obviously throw away trash, old bills, magazines, whatever junk that's piled up that you know right away, you're not going to resell it, you're not going to give it to the thrift store, and you don't want to keep it. Throw that away. That's the throwaway pile. And then finally, the pile of what is necessary. Now, when I did it at first, it was just, basically everything that didn't donate or throw away, I had in this pile. But as I got better at it, I started to look at things as, what do I want in my life? Especially when I give you the example of the kitchen, like, what kinds of things do I want in my life going forward? I might have used all these things, to the max in the past, but am I going to be doing that kind of baking, for example, in the future? Is that something then that I don't want to keep? And we'll get into a little bit of those details when we'll look at some of the rooms. But be rather ruthless at this point. Get rid of things out of the house as soon as possible that is just junk or just obvious, as we said, clutter. Usually starting in the kitchen or a family room type of place is a good place, because that's usually where, like, a lot of stuff has accumulated that's real visible. Don't start with some, like, your grandmother's memory box or something, and we'll find out later why memory attachments for many of us that have a lot of stuff can be rather tough. Now, perhaps you're a bit more organized than that. Perhaps you don't have a lot of junk. I mean, I really didn't throw away junk. I mean, I had mail and I had some old magazines, but basically I was an organized junker. I mean, I had a lot of stuff. I shouldn't say organized junker, an organized stuffer. I had a lot of stuff, but boy, they were in bins and it was color coded and, in its place. If you recall, when I brought it all to this small house, though, I had more bins than I had places to put it. So that's why my garage and my house became cluttered with organized stuff. So another way that you might want to start this race of yours, and this is kind of where I was make the move. Make the move. And the trick here is to make your home work for you. Is there an area in your home that just hasn't been working? now would be the time to start with that area and sort of fix it first. Whether that means rearranging the furniture or moving closets around if it's just a little bit of movement, putting a command station on the wall, to catch all the mail or your shoes in a certain area in the front. But it's really about kind of creating systems that will last for each area, moving into each area of your home with intention and gratitude that, I was blessed to have all these things, but now I need to see if this really fits into my lifestyle. So for me, I began with what was the most obvious and quick spot in the entire house, which was my own bedroom. And here's why. I chose the bedroom over the kitchen. I was kind of, which one? I did that because I wanted a space that would really depict my end in mind. Remember, one of my ends in mind was to have a place that depicted mindfulness, that was cleared out, that felt freeing, that was my mind of my definition of what I wanted my spaces to look. And typically a bedroom usually contains areas that are just yours. Even if you have a significant other, you usually have your own drawers or your own closet or whatever. And so you can start in that space that's yours and you don't have to ask anybody else. Now, sometimes that's harder because you don't get to say, hey, honey, should I keep this dress? Does it make me look fat? I mean, that kind of thing. But you got to say, hey, Marsh, do I really want this going forward? Or is this something I can donate, throw away, etc.? So that's where I started. But no matter where you began running your race this week, remember your commitment needs to match your resources, your time and energy on the task. If none is available today, okay, maybe I'll work on my bedroom tomorrow. But one thing I did daily, which was even a small task, is once I began clearing, I also made sure I was putting things away and not letting things pile back up in the area I was clearing, because here's a Marcia issue that maybe some of you share. I tended to want everything done before I change my habits. Like once I get it all started, then I'll make sure that I never ever just throw a pair of earrings down. I'll put them, where they belong. No, that won't work. You'll end up just constantly kind of chasing your tail. So what I made sure is once I cleared out an area, whether that was an area of shoes or handbags or my scarves, once I wore a scarf, I didn't just throw it in anywhere. I put it back in the place that I decided was going to be its designated location, because you'll start to see that things to be organized, things to be decluttered, to be simplified, need to have a place, whether that's the kids' toys, the family shoes, my earrings. They have a place that they go back to. And so every day I made sure that I continued to do that. And I tried really hard to do it in areas that I wasn't cleaning either, because I didn't want them to pile up, because I was working on something else. But I can tell you, friends, that finally when I began to see that immediate clearing, it's gratifying. And I mentioned it kind of becomes your energy drink to your commitment. You see less clutter. You see practical benefits, that you're saving money and you're not buying stuff because you already had it, you found it, and you weren't using it anyway. Or maybe you're selling stuff and you're getting financial benefits from it. The compassion I felt by donating it to our own ranch thrift operation was really satisfying. And you know what? It's really odd, but I have very small rooms in this home, but they felt bigger. They felt like I put in new windows, like lighter. And of course, what I was looking for is that less stress, more calm. When I was doing my practice, I could just breathe easier and just feel settled. And more time in cleaning. I wasn't cleaning as much. And remember, another one of my biggies, it was easier to do things. And I'll get into that later, like when I talk about the kitchen cabinets. It actually brought the joy back to cooking healthy rather than making it feel like a chore, because the cabinets were simplified and there for my use rather than just taking up a bunch of stuff. So don't forget, no matter how small your effort may seem, and I don't care if you just throw away the junk mail that comes in today, rather than throwing it on your kitchen table or wherever it is that you like to throw your mail, be gentle. Be gentle with yourself and pause to acknowledge and celebrate the move toward mindful living through clearing out space. Because no matter how big the move, it's significant. It's a change. It may be difficult. It was for me. And so the celebration piece is really important and being gentle. So until next time, be gentle and be well.